talk
I'm
to,
all set, yeah.
the other attorney.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting conducted as a committee of the whole for City of Southfield for June the 20th, 2016. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell.
Here.
Mr. Fricassi.
Here.
Mrs. Morris. Here. Mr. Mandelbaum.
Here.
Ms. Seymour, in the background, but not here. Mr. Cruz is running a little bit late. Mr. Frazier,
Here.
you have 5 members present.
Thank you. First item of business is we're going to pull item number 1 for further information. So, cross that off. So, let's move into item number 2, which is the Southfield Police Department.
Forget about him. Oh, no.
Oh,
All right, good evening, council, mayor, members of the community. We're here this evening in the police department with 2 items. And the first item is seeking authorization to apply for a JAG grant, Justice Assistance Grant, to purchase tasers. And the second item is permission to purchase cameras for prisoner transport van and the animal warden's vehicle. And I have with me Sergeant Katie Schneider to go into the details of these items.
The first is the JAG grant that we're asking permission to apply for. We receive it every year. This year, we're being allocated the amount of $22,100, and we'd like to use that to purchase 22 tasers. The tasers are going to cost $33,753. That means we would be responsible for $11,653. In addition to the JAG program, there's another grant that's available to us for reimbursement of approximately $11,000, and that's through MMRMA. And we're also asking for permission to apply for that grant as a reimbursement. Are there any questions on the tasers?
anyone have any questions? Mr. Mandelbaum?
Is that enough? That's not enough for all the officers?
No, sir. We don't have enough funds allocated to purchase all new ones, but we have about 60 road officers. So what our plan is to purchase about 20 a year. So over the course of 3 years, they'll all have updated technology. Right now, the tasers are recommended to be replaced after 5 years by the manufacturer, and all of ours are approximately 8 years old. So after a few years of cycling this way, we should have everybody up to date.
Chair.
Yeah.
So what are the
Ms. Moore?
stats on that? How often do you use tasers annually?
Yeah, we typically we only use tasers when the level of when we have to use a level of force that necessitates us to put our hands basically on a suspect. And we estimate that we may use a taser department wide, maybe 45 times annually.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mr.
With the ones that you said typical age of 8 years, the ones that are out there now.
Yes, sir.
Are they effective?
Yes, they are. There's no increased risk with using ones that are passing manufacturer's recommended replacement date. The only issue is they no longer can fix them. There's no warranty. They won't even look at it anymore, and we have the risk of them not working at all. Yeah, not firing for the officers.
Any other questions? Okay, this will be on our consent agenda for the regular meeting. All right, you have another one?
Yes, sir. New cameras, well, we don't have any cameras right now in our prisoner transport van, which is what we use to transport the prisoners back and forth from our lockup facilities to the county. So that's a priority. Recent events, we want to have that documented. And then also our animal control officer's truck doesn't have a camera in it, and we would like to place one in there. The cost for both of the
portion. And then what I've seen in other communities, you get a key or an access code that you can, that you go in, but you pay annually for that. It's also another way to make sure that your dogs are licensed and registered with the city and that their shops are up to date.
Okay? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Morris?
Did you say that people in that community wanted this, or do you know? Is there data that the
So when we went through our master plan, our own individual one 4 or 5 years ago, that was presented to this body, that was one of their interests. It wasn't a primary interest, but it was a secondary interest.
And what would the fencing, would the fencing be wood?
Chain link.
Oh,
Chain link, what I've seen in both Pleasant Ridge and Ferndale, they were black vinyl coated, 5 feet in height. And this location actually has that masonry wall to the north, which will save some costs there.
Okay. Mayor?
Yeah, I was going to say some of the things that Fred said. I'm aware of dog parks in other communities that sort of pay for themselves because they charge a fee, and you get a swipe card or a fob to enter the park. And in council presidents, we were talking about John, and I wasn't aware of this, but our deputy city administrator mentioned that we have a very low percentage of people with who hold licenses for their dogs. And this would be an incentive to get your dog licensed because you wouldn't be able to use the park. So there'd be revenue from that as well. This, I favor applying for the grant. The beauty of this particular site is that you have a parking lot and the back of stores. You don't have homes adjacent to the area there, and there's parking right there. Right now in Bedford Woods, it is just a grassy area with some sort of failing trees. They're not in particularly good shape. You know, we could certainly make this, I think we could make this a go if we put the cost on the user and use the money for the grant. We'd also save, obviously, there's the wall between the park and the shopping center is, I think it's 8 foot. It's on a little berm, and then there's the wall. So it's rather, no dog is going to jump over it, clearly. So that's what makes this more attractive. There aren't any homes right next to it. And again, there's an unused parking lot at the Southfield Plaza on the, to the north of the strip that is been proposed.
Okay. Mr. Very well.
You indicated you were getting calls. I mean, what's the potential number of users for a dog park?
Probably dozens to under 100. I mean, it's not a huge community. My point of reference, out in Canton, and I've called them. They have, I think, 250 people, families that are signed up.
Good.
But in this community, dozens. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of dogs, but I don't believe it's more than 1,000.
Okay, but you indicated you were getting calls, you got calls.
Email requests, and when we had our focus groups back when we did our own master plan study 5 years ago, there was an interest in that.
So there's a need. You're saying there's a need.
In my opinion, there's a need, but it's a secondary need compared to, and I'm a dog owner, but the human needs, or plus our budget needs, etc.
The other thing on it is that you indicated, the deputy, he indicated that we don't have an adequate registration of dogs in the city of Southfield.
That's what he tells me.
And along with this, I'm assuming, I'm making the assumption that there's a need. You build it, they will come, or you build it and they don't come. I don't know what the situation is with the dogs are. But can we do something to heighten the registration of the dogs that we have here in the city?
He's got a plan for that. He kind of gave us a thumbnail description. It was pretty neat. Go up, knock on the door, if a dog barks, you want to see your license.
You mean John?
Pardon?
I mean, when you say he, that means you're talking
John.
about the deputy? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. No, but since we don't have a handle on the population around the proposed dog park, you know, that's one thing. But I would like to see something citywide registering all dogs. We put something forward registering all dogs so we can get a handle on the population of the canine. Okay.
Mr. Contessa?
I go back to the budget. You don't necessarily may apply for the grant, but that doesn't necessarily you get the 25. You may get, was it 10, 5?
Okay.
Huh?
Thanks for right.
Focus down.
It's a sliding
And
scale.
then you get maybe a dog collar if you come in 8th or something. I don't know. But anyway, I don't shouldn't do that. But anyways, but I guess I'll be for it, but I just wonder, there are too many, you know, it's at the edge of our city. I don't, you know, it's not in the center where the populace could really use it. But you know, it's new, it's different. We don't have one. I guess if it doesn't cost any money, I would be for it. But if it's something that's going to be a maintenance problem and going to cost more than we actually think it's going to be, I would not be for it.
Oh, Mr. Cruz. Yeah, Mr. Cruz?
I kind of had the same perspective there as well. I mean, I don't see any harm in us applying for a grant, and we decide at that point, like you said, if there's gonna be additional maintenance costs in there and everything, and if we're ready to do that. The other point I was thinking about was when we were at our last meeting talking about the city center, that was one of the options, I guess, that came out in the, you know, in the, community forums, that would, you know, that, so I think there is a desire for it somewhere, whether it's Bedford or not, something of that nature, but I think this is I think there's definitely a desire somewhere to have it, and maybe if we do get a grant, we can do a little bit more investigation about where the best place is for it to be, so I'm certainly in favor of us at least moving forward and applying for the grant to give it a shot.
Ms. Banks?
May I want to also consider advertising in Southfield Living, did you know, or was your dog licensed? Years ago, when the clerk's office handled the dog licensing, we would always, blast out the news. And then there's also the, I don't know if it's monthly, e-blasts that we could also send out to the residents that, you're in violation of our ordinance if your dog is not licensed. And we used to go, they used to go and knock on the doors and issue tickets if they weren't licensed, so.
Okay, Mayor?
Thank you.
Who does the licensing, that police department?
The police
Yeah,
department.
okay, that's what I thought. I'll just say that this is something we have talked about, Dan, for years, something that Brenda pushed, as a matter of fact. I've heard people ask, I'd love to have a dog park, other cities have one, couldn't we do something here? And it doesn't have to be Bedford Woods, but that happened to be kind of an appealing site because there are no houses next to it. And there's an existing wall that would make it cheaper. But we also had talked, and maybe Sue, you remember this, or Myron, at one time, we talked to Farmington Hills about doing a shared park.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so this has been something that's been kicked around for many years, and that I think it's a nice amenity, and I would agree if it's going to be a huge cost to the city, then it's not worth it. But you can certainly apply for the grant, and then you can always turn it back if you decide later that it's not something you want to do. It doesn't hurt to apply. And who knows, you might not even get the grant. So.
Yeah. One other location that we talked about in the past is that small park just north of Stevenson School.
Oh, yeah.
Except there's no
Larger
parking, there's
ones.
only a couple of, well, you can
Larger
put a
ones.
couple of park a couple of cars there at a time.
Hundreds of dogs are there.
Pardon me?
Hundreds of dogs are there.
Are they?
Yeah, they're all, yeah, day and night.
Huh.
Kids, they take the dogs for a
Oh,
For a
run.
they
walk.
do now?
Well, there's
Oh.
nothing there, next to Young Israel.
Right.
It just goes right down, it's a long, narrow park, but the people take their dogs to run and, yeah, there's quite a few people do that, early in the morning, late at night.
I know if we're asking to apply for a grant, we must have done a little bit of study, because, I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to apply for a grant that you have no idea what you're gonna do with it once you get it. And I guess the question that I have, that I didn't think about at the council president's meeting was, is there any liability on the part of the city if we have a dog park and two dogs that have attitudes get in there and,
No, it's part of just like the recreational user statute. Generally, there's immunity for that, yeah.
But we'd also be asking them to sign some type
Oh,
of release.
sure we would.
Because
Sure
in
we
order for
would.
them to get in, we'll be able
Right.
to strengthen our position as we would
Absolutely.
have in normal situations.
You're not responsible.
Right.
and one of the other things is if it's a key or if it's a code to get in the place, how do we go about preventing someone from sharing their key with their next door neighbor or two?
Sure.
That's something we need to research, the key, whether it's
Fingerprint.
access code.
Yeah, fingerprint.
Fingerprint.
Yeah.
And there's
One
also the
community had a
potential.
solar powered device that was operating the gate.
Oh, yeah? So if you tried to sneak in, it would zap you or something?
Shoot a photo or something,
Think.
There's also the potential, a few years ago, we secured one of those MMRMA grants for security cameras throughout our parks. We could relocate one of those to the dog park to address some of the issues that you just mentioned. If the project got that far.
You'd have to be pretty sharp to say, I saw that dog in here last week. It was different.
Yeah, exactly.
This dog has
They
multiple
have a white
partners.
circle.
Yeah, Mayor?
If you said electronic fence, and I'm familiar with those, I have neighbors that have had them for their dogs. But I've never been to a dog park that had an electronic fence. They had a chain link fence.
I may have misspoke. I mean, you're absolutely right, but in terms of the key, the swipe
Because
key
that's
technology.
another
Right.
expense, because you're varying.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't work anyhow because the collars have to be tuned to that
Exactly.
frequency.
Right.
Exactly.
No,
Again, all the ones that I've seen are just chain link fence and a gate with
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you pay as you go.
It would just be the entrance gate as opposed to like the doggy collars that people have, the Invisa fences.
Mr. Brightwell?
Yeah, I'd like to see this, the grant to apply for it, but I'd like to see this be a segue for the whole city to register all the dogs, make a push to register the dogs in the city so we can get a feel on the population that we're dealing with. So with that, I would support applying for the grant, but the bigger thing would be to get a good registration for the whole city.
Okay, well, you're gonna get an opportunity to support it. This is gonna be on our consent agenda. All right? Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're ready for the communications portion. We have 2 requests for communication. First person to speak is Gerard Mullen. And you have 3 minutes.
Gerard Mullen, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037. Through the chair, I'd like to ask this council a question. How is it possible for your constituents to attend this meeting this evening? How is it possible when there is no updated city council meeting schedule posted on the legal notice bulletin board for this meeting? This sin of omission translates into a violation of the 1976 Open Meetings Act And I quote from Public Act 267, Section 5, subsection 3. If there is a change in the schedule of regular meetings of a public body, there shall be posted within 3 days after the meeting at which the change is made, a public notice stating the new dates, times, and places of its regular meetings, unquote. In fairness, the city did post an agenda for this meeting late last Friday afternoon on the legal notice bulletin board and on the city's website. But this falls short of the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Thank you.
Okay.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 4037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. I just want to ask a question. How long should a person be in an acting position before they get the job? I'm going to apologize to our acting Parks and Recreation Director, Doug Block, just for being a loyal, solid acting director, and say that I'm going to forgive the administration for not giving you your just due. I don't know why this administration seems to be so selective about the positions that you put a national search out for versus the times when you just promote in-house, how you decide to give a person a raise, on what merits are they getting that raise. And I'll just go back to the examples that I've given. When Jim Charette passed away, a wonderful city administrator, you guys didn't search out nationally for his position. You felt compelled to put Fred Zorn in that position because you had no other alternative. We didn't seek out for a human resource director. You gave it to the person that had been acting. We didn't look nationally for a business and economic development manager, one-person department. Fred Zorn's wife's friend got the promotion. And you weren't satisfied with making her a manager, you made her a director. So how and when do you decide who gets these jobs? To me, it was an insult to have someone in a position for 5 years and then all of a sudden you do a search. I think you guys are really confused. You don't know if you want a Parks and Recreation director or an athletics director. What I think you guys are looking for is someone to come in shorts, knee pads, elbow pads, like the acting, like our previous guy did. Bill Waterhouse wore a lot of athletic clothes. But was he the businessman that the department also needs? Was he a money guy, like it says the position is supposed to have knowledge about? I don't know. But I think you guys should sit down before you do all these searches and decide, what are you really looking for? And is it cost effective to go outside when you already have talented people within this city? And if you're not training someone to take over when these people retire, shame on you. Shame on you.
Thank you. Is there any other,
Yeah, I have one quick thing.
Mr. Mayor?
I got a call today from Laker Village inviting us at no cost. The only thing we would do is spread the word. They're having a shred day, like Nancy has offered many times in the past. They've organized this, and they thought, well, they're going to bring all this equipment in, and they have 4,500 residents or whatever, 4,000 residents. So they said, would Southfield be interested in joining? But again, nothing's on us. We don't have to, the only thing we can do is spread the word. So I said, sounds good to me. And I'd like to announce it at tonight's meeting if there's no objection. Again, we're not We have no responsibility, no cost, no nothing. They just invited us to participate in their shred day.
When is it?
When is it?
Sunday, or Saturday, August 20th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Very similar to what we've done for years at Southfield High School.
Okay. It's at their city hall?
Yeah, it'll be at their city hall on Southfield Road.
What time?
10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I don't have any problem with you. I mean, they're inviting us to the party.
Right, it's their party
Yeah.
and are no cost or anything for us.
Okay. All right. Any other item to come before the council? Okay. If there is no other business, the meeting's adjourned.